Hey there folks, it's Savage. Just hopping in here before we get the episode going because I'd like to ask you a question. That question is, do you like the Adventuring Party? Do you like podcasts? Do you like gaming? I imagine if you're hearing this, then the answer to all three of those things is probably, yeah, I kind of do. Good. So do I. Now, here's the thing. I like it so much, I want to share the joy. So do the rest of us at the Adventuring Party, which is why we're looking for new talent. And we hope that you might be it. So, how could you become a member of the Adventuring Party? I hear you asking yourselves. Or you're looking for the fast forward button. Well, it's pretty simple. I want you to find yourself a microphone, some sort of recording device, one you're happy to use, and go hit your favorite gaming website. Take a look at the headlines today, see what the new news is. I want you to record, say, a minute of you just reacting, giving us your hot take, telling us what floats your boat, what grits your gears about a news item or two that you found interesting. Okay, so if you've done that, all right, just pause, take a second, a couple of deep breaths. Now, the next thing I want is 3 minutes on a general topic in gaming, something more perennial, evergreen, as one of my compatriots like to call it, something you could talk to someone about gaming today, tomorrow, a year from now. Give us 3 minutes of that and then send it on in, say, MP3 format. We're also kind of interested to hear if you want to edit in some music or maybe an intro, an outro, sound effects, you name it, whatever you fancy, whatever you think is appropriate or inappropriate or just plain hilarious. Now, you don't have to do any editing or any sound engineering or any special effects, Foley, stuff like that. But if you do, it's certainly going to pique our interest, help you stand out from the crowd. Now, when you've got all of that done, get it all into an MP3 file and then shoot it over to us at party@theadventuringparty.net. That's where we'll collect them all up until eventually, Hunger Games-like, we come up with a few candidates who, hopefully, soon, you'll be hearing on the other side of this intro. So, let's recap. We're looking for new members. It could be you. Go find, say, 1 or 2 topics in gaming news. Give us your opinion for a minute. Take a deep breath. Give us 3 minutes of you just talking about some topic in gaming or a game you love or something that happens in games that you can't stand. 3 minutes. Get it all into an MP3. Maybe do some sound editing. You don't have to. Drop in some music. Better be royalty free. And send it on over to us at party@theadventuringparty.net. Okay? If you've got all of that, if it makes sense, if you're still willing to give it a try, we would love to hear from you. So, go. Do it now. Or do it after work. Or do it when the kids are in bed. Or do it whenever. But if you think you've got what it takes, jump on this opportunity. We need you. Goodbye. I'll talk to you soon. Hopefully I'll hear from you even sooner. On with the episode. This is Savage, signing out. You're listening to The Adventuring Party, discussing tabletop and related gaming, and the Irish gaming scene, so you don't have to. Welcome to the party. I'm Savage.
I'm Shane.
And I'm Peter.
Peter, thank you very much for joining us, and for those of you who have probably read the preamble for the show this week, you'll be aware that Peter is now heading up the venerable, the august, the long may it live, Vaticon for 2020. What number of Vaticon is this, Peter?
Vaticon 26, the Revengeance, because, you know.
Yeah.
The Revengeance.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, after vengeance and after revenge, you must revengeance.
Yes, exactly.
You know a lot about revengeance, don't you, Shane?
I watched some Let's Plays of it.
That's a storied life. So we've asked Peter to come here this week, and this is hot off of what is probably going to turn out to be one of the most interesting stories in the Irish kind of convention community in 2020.
It's only February.
And it's only February. But 2020 has been a bit like that. It's like, oh, we've got coronavirus, we've got Brexit, we've got the primaries in the US, and we've got the fall and rise of Vaticon.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great way to start this year.
Mm.
So, but before we get into that, let's talk about what we can expect from Vaticon this year. Peter, you've got plenty to tell us, I'm sure.
Great, thank you very much. So Vaticon 26, the Revengeance, will be taking place from the 3rd to the 5th of April in the UCD Old Student Centre. For those who do not know, it's at the back end of UCD. A fair spin, but we'll get you there.
Is it near the water tower?
It is. It is just in front of the water tower.
Okay. So we have a landmark. Look for a gigantic D12, and you will...
It's the least used of the platonic
that makes
solids.
it more distinctive.
I mean, it deserves it, right? Like,
Absolutely.
was
So-
it the Great Axe uses the D12, or...
Yeah, great axes and barbarians.
All of the great things. Alexander the Great Axe, and the Great Khan. So Vaticon is going to go ahead this year, and you're in the old student centre?
Yeah.
That's the one without the swimming pool, am I correct?
They're technically joined now,
Ah.
but it is, yes, the one without the swimming pool.
Well,
Unfortunately, we couldn't get the pool this year.
So my dreams of a wet LARP will be dashed for yet another year. So Peter, tell us exactly what we can realistically expect from Vaticon this year.
Great, thank you very much. So, going forward, we have 2 prizes, one for students, one for non-students. If you show your student card on the day, we'll give it to you for €5. Non-students, €10. I know this is a bit harsh, but we need a fair bit more money compared to the last few years. So
I think I can dig €10 out of the old couch. And is that just students attending at the college, or is that for Irish students?
all students.
So if you've got a valid student card, or you can fake one, get yourselves to Vaticon in April and avail of a €5 entry for the weekend.
Yep.
Well, that works.
3 days.
That works out as, like, I'm no mathematician, but that works out at less than a can of Guinness, even at discount, per day. Would I be correct?
Sounds about right.
Okay.
Unless the economy goes very weird in February, March, and April.
Oh, well, we won't speculate there. So having paid to enter, what can we expect?
So as of right now, after only being online for 4 days, we have 14 GMs who have signed up, including 2 LARPs. We have a Blood Bowl tournament, and we have 3 Super Smash Bros. Tournaments.
Oh, so there'll be a console element of this.
Oh, absolutely. Consoles have been declining in the last few years in terms of our con, but this year we want to bring it back with a bang. The theme is the Phoenix, so we're trying to revive all the elements of Vaticon that maybe haven't been quite so active in the last few years.
Like the pool LARPs.
Oh, of course.
I'm gonna get that. That'll be a thing eventually. Yeah, absolutely. I kind of have a sneaking sort of love for sitting down at a con and playing a few rounds of Smash or Tekken or something like that, and just because while so much of gaming tends to be quiet, considered, and polite, the trash talk that goes on once two gamers have controllers in their hands and are sat in front of a big old TV is like nothing on earth. I can certainly think of some epic trash that gets talked once Mario and the lady from Metroidvania throw down. Am I completely off base?
You're with the kids.
I am so hello, fellow kids. So we've got some GMs, we've got some LARPs confirmed. Will there be a place for Wargames CCGs at all? Is that on the cards?
There will be. We are working with partners at the moment. We cannot confirm the size or the partners at the moment, as they have asked us to keep things a bit quiet until things are more formulated on their end, which is completely understandable.
That makes sense. Now, obviously, we're kind of coming at you fairly early in the process, and in another sense, there's a middle of the road aspect here, or middle of the journey, I should say. Nothing middle of the road about Vaticon, but yeah, we're hitting you with these questions a little bit before you've got everything in place, and I suppose if Vaticon is to follow the form or the plan of previous years, there's lots of things we can generally expect to happen. But one of the reasons that we're coming to you now is because obviously this year's Vaticon is going to be a bit special, a little bit different. And I think without wanting to put any sort of spin on it, I'd simply sort of throw to you, Peter, and say, well, what can you tell us about the circumstances under which Vatican is happening this year?
Difficult, to say the least. As I'm sure many of your listeners will know, there was a fair amount of controversy on, I believe, the 28th, Thursday.
And a date that will live in infamy. It was the first day I ever laid eyes on Facebook, and I have to say it was an eventful one. I followed the progression of events with a keen interest, just because this was such a a relevant story. I mean, the Adventuring Party proclaims to be a podcast about Irish gaming, the Irish gaming scene, and I knew if we didn't sit down and talk this week, then we were leaving that crown for someone else to pick up. So I'm very thankful for you coming in and talking to us. I've a great many members of the Adventure Party who were sort of trepidatious about letting me anywhere near you tonight. I've a reputation, Shane, would you say, as a maverick, a madman, a loose cannon, a cop who plays by his own rules?
I hear you're from somewhere in the Connacht area. That's the main...
Let's not bring racial slurs into this, but we are curious to find out, more or less, from your perspective at least, what happened to bring Vaticon to the edge of destruction and to see it rise from the flames, a phoenix reborn.
And revengeful.
And revengeful. Peter, over to you.
So our story actually starts, I'd say, maybe May last year. So for those who are unaware, UCD conventions typically can only function when they're supported by university funding. So the idea would be that any profits made during the convention were donated to charity, and UCD would cover the costs of running the con. However, there's been a change in the last 2 years in the UCD student funding mechanism, and now they will no longer fund any event with charity connotations. And as such, we had 2 years of our funding retroactively taken away from us.
That's a pretty harsh blow.
It was about €1,500, which to a society who is still kind of getting off its feet over the last few years due to a myriad of circumstances was pretty hard for us to take, I'm going to be honest.
This, of course, led to some hard decisions having to be made by the people who were in place.
Yeah. At the time, the last Vaticon had received a rather poor turnout from our current members, though the alumni turnout was as great as ever. That's one thing that we've always seen. So they were quite ambivalent towards changing or reworking the UCD student convention in whatever form it takes. I think what really happened was that there was a crossing of wires, or perhaps a tonal issue on the 28th, where the use of the word discontinued in particular, I think, upset a lot of people, when it simply should have said something along the lines of discontinued in its current form. I know in retrospect we kind of addressed that, but I think certainly if we could tone measure back then, it would have caused a lot less controversy.
And that really is why we're talking tonight, because there was an element of controversy. We saw an eruption, if that's not too strong a word, on social media of sort of reactions from that alumni and from those who are sort of broadly interested in Irish gaming in the convention scene, and other well-wishers or those who had attended Vaticon in the past. I've certainly had a couple of excellent Vaticons. You've had to step in a certain sense. I understand you got one of those 3 a.m. phone calls.
Yeah. So I had been to the excellent WarpCon this semester, my first gaming convention ever. 100% recommend. And I was feeling fairly awful. I think I picked up something maybe at it. I know that can be quite common.
What did you call it before we started?
Con crud.
Con crud sounds about right. It means you've done it right.
So I was sleeping most of the day. I get a call about maybe 6 or 7 in the evening from the senior treasurer, who kind of is in charge of the general administration of the financial affairs of society, and who's quite well connected in the Irish gaming scene himself, a major board gamer, saying, "Peter, what's the deal with Vaticon?" And this was fairly surprising to me. First of all, I had no idea what was happening. I had just woken up. The last thing you want to see is a lecturer emailing you or calling you saying, "Sort this out."
This is a faculty sponsor for the society.
Yeah. Every society in UCD has to have a faculty member attached to it in some form or another.
And presumably they are sleeping dogs who are generally left to lie.
For the most part, yeah.
So when you get a call from one of them with concern in their tone, you're called to action, essentially.
Yeah, so apparently the initial post, which I'd say generated the most controversy, had gotten shared to almost every private gaming group in Ireland. I think we ended up with 42 shares or something like that, which is absolutely ridiculous when you consider that our average post on Facebook gets about 1 or 2 likes. So,
yeah. It certainly lit a fire under the convention, which then proceeded to, in a sense, burn it to the ground for a brief moment. Now, I don't think we necessarily need to go into the reasons, the whys and wherefores. We're not going to delve into the thought processes of people who aren't here. But at the point where you're able to step in and say Vaticon is happening, what were you thinking? What was going on for you?
Well, to be honest, I was quite impressed is a weird thing maybe to say, but both scared and excited by the amount of community outreach we'd gotten at the time. First of all, very disheartened when you have a lot of people just saying that, you know, we're disgusted at your actions and kind of tarring the committee as a whole with one brush. It was quite hard for me, you know. At the end of the day, we are students. Many of us are in final year or
volunteers.
Exactly.
Giving up your time, yeah.
So we already pump around 20 to 30 hours each per week probably into running the society. So to see people that we, for the most part, never met talk about us in such a manner was quite hard. I'm going to be honest. So look, we knew we had to do something. So I convened a meeting with the committee. The person in charge of those posts resigned at said meeting, and I was told by the rest of the committee that I was to step up, which wasn't something I was expecting. I was in a bathrobe, just out of bed. Like it was hard, but
many of the great heroes have started in bathrobes. It's fair to say. Mm. So you find yourself now heading up a resurgent Vaticon, and you presume, I suppose, in a sense, you find yourself at the head of a sort of a groundswell. There's a lot of people who've come out of the woodwork. You mentioned that maybe a post would get 1 or 2 likes. What we saw were likes in the dozens, and the discussion is ongoing now. We've seen artwork contributed. We've seen people offering games to GM, to volunteer as staff. I understand you've some traders on board.
That's true. We have 3 traders who have signed up as a moment. Aiden's Creations, Clan Crafts, and Cuttlefish Studios, all great artists.
We'll get some links to those. If
that would be perfect,
we'll
yeah.
Stick to
absolutely.
The show notes.
Oh, and just for reference, any trader who does want to come to us, we won't be charging, or artists, just rock up and we'll set up a booth for you. If you want to donate to the con for its future, perfect. If you don't, no problem.
And we'll put a link that they can find a forum or they can find a contact for whoever's responsible for that, so that you simply don't have a circus showing up on the day. But as long as they go through the proper channels, you'll have a place for them. Absolutely. During the con.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me just ask you then you've experienced your first con away in the Venerable WarpCon, Lesser and All of Zelner, and obviously you've seen just how passionate Irish gamers can be, Irish convention goers can be. What would you like to say to those people now that you're still riding this wave in a certain sense? But any reflections at this point? Anything you'd like people to keep in mind, or anything you'd sort of like to say to them?
So this is a bit of a test, both in terms of us responding to the community and also us representing UCD. So because of the lack of funding, UCD were quite skeptical about us throwing on a convention again, considering the last 2 lost money, and obviously they have duties to their members. So we would highly encourage you, if you want to see Vaticon as it currently stands continue into the future, even if you can't attend, we will be putting up pre-ticket sales in the next few weeks. Or if you'd like to support us in other ways, be it running a game or just liking and sharing social media is enough. We would highly encourage you to do so, because to be honest, even though Vaticon seemed like it was going to go away, if this doesn't actually do well, there's a higher chance of that happening in reality.
The wolf is not yet sort of run from the door on this one. It's, I suppose, Shane, it's a trouble that a lot of cons, society cons and college cons, have faced in the last couple of years. If you can't find the numbers, even for a year or two, the sort of the treasurers, the funding bodies tend to get very skeptical. There's we could talk about how campuses have become sort of more commercially focused, and this is an offshoot of that. Or we could sort of look to a failure perhaps in the Irish convention scene to bring new blood in, or to bring new attendees in, Obviously, there's always outside pressures from other pursuits. I've got a 5-year-old boy, and I certainly he's playing computer games and Minecraft before he's picked up dice.
Yeah.
Failing as a parent, I admit, but one I hope to rectify as soon as possible. But this is indicative of there are so many other things that pull upon the attentions of college attendees.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on what we've seen this last week?
Well, from what I've seen in the last week, it's an interesting look into the relationship between the convention and the convention goer, I think, in that conventions are very complicated things and very often have a lot of masters, often far more than just the society who is sponsoring and putting it on. Very often there's all kinds of college politics, which is no different from us politics anywhere.
I think we've both seen a bit of that back in our Leprechaun days.
Indeed, but it's even as it's not just one body. It's often there'll be student societies. Sorry, the greater student society.
The con alumni who sort of passed through and passed on.
I'm more talking that there'd be different layers in, like, it may be that your sponsor or wherever faculty is and have that maybe perfectly fine with an event going on, but in the generally maybe the student union has a bit in it and is trying to allocate resources between multiple different events, and you could have new regulations coming in, changes in government funding.
Okay, well, before we expand the balloon too far, a question occurs to me. And this is perhaps something that any of us who have been involved in the Irish college and university con scene should be asking ourselves. How do we make the people who hold the purse strings understand the relevance of college-led, college-run and college-hosted conventions? Like, what is it we can now do? Because in many ways there is such a resurgence in interest in gaming of all sorts that it seems that colleges might actually be behind on this issue. There's plenty of money for sports. There's plenty of money for more traditional forms of the arts, or political, or young branches of all sorts of political wings. But we're in the era of Critical Role and D&D as a resurgent force in the market, and the cross-media sort of entertainment.
And the board game Kickstarter renaissance.
Absolutely. So what are colleges doing, or what do they need to understand now to understand that there is something quite vital and valuable about the college society, the college gaming society and the college gaming convention scene? Peter, any thoughts?
It's an issue that we've been struggling with as well. So, esports, I think, would be an area that seems to me at least commercially viable, but there hasn't been the same interest or reaching out that we see with other traditional sports, even if they are quite niche. So I think there is probably an optics issue that we need to, as a community, try to change. One of them might be legitimacy in sponsors. In general, if you attract sponsors, the college will see that as something that is commercially viable and successful. So that could be one area to work on.
I think there's certainly merit there, although it does sort of tend towards the economic argument.
Sure.
The counterpoint, I think, is that there is and we've seen the alumni come out, there's a grand old tradition here. Just as venerable as a camogie team or a rowing team, there are now a couple of generations of dyed-in-the-wool gamers in Irish, in the Irish college sort of scene, and have passed through it. We probably need to find a way to communicate to the hosting bodies, the colleges, the society boards, things like that there is just as much in terms of networking, professional sort of advancement, and prestige to be found in Irish gaming as there is in Irish sport, Irish arts, Irish politics, Irish entertainment, whatever you have. We have like the several noted writers in the industry now who've passed through, who've got their chops writing cons that we played, that were, when we were able to see them in the pub afterwards and tell them we didn't think much of the scenario or that we loved it. And they're now published authors. They're working for entertainment companies in all sorts of different fields. And I think there's this. We really need to start to make those links between those people who have risen to the highest ranks of some of the newest forms of entertainment and where they found their start, where they got their first audience, which was with convention goers, which was with Irish congoers, Irish gamers, who saw the value and celebrated the uniqueness of the Irish voice in gaming.
I can't really one-up that.
That's soaring rhetoric.
Yeah, I would say that I understand the profit motive is the wrong word, but the economic concern about things. But to my mind, a college society is sort of an investment in the social experience and diversity of your student base. And it is behooving. I don't think that's the right word, but I think the college has a responsibility to invest in the wide variety of experiences of the student body, and that includes stuff which is becoming more and more relevant in modern life, like gaming. Gaming may be, in terms compared to many professional sports, it may be relatively young, but it's still 40 years of major gaming, and then again historical gaming going back to. Yeah,
I think you need to put it in context. It's not like we'll ever have a pro D&D league or something like that.
Despite everyone's attempts to figure it out.
Exactly, but I think we put it somewhere adjacent to the arts and somewhere with its foot into a new land, a different territory, because it's impossible to sort of judge it on the metrics of some other thing. It is its own thing and should be appreciated on its own merits. And maybe there isn't a huge amount of money to be made out of it, but there's a huge amount of prestige, I think, because before we had many other forms of entertainment, we had the storyteller. We had someone who could grip the imagination. And the thing about gaming is generally that makes all of us who participate storytellers. Now, I'd like to think that we've told a little story here this evening. There is something fantastic happening for Vaticon, which has had some down years, has lost faith here and there, has found a renewed purpose, and is hopefully going to go into 2020 with an amazing year. And I can't wait. I've already told my wife I'm not available for a couple of days in April. And I hope listeners, I see a few familiar faces there. More importantly, I hope I see an awful lot of people I've never seen before. It's the first time we met when you walked through my door this evening. And I'm delighted that a guy like you is taking up the banner.
Yeah, it's
and charging forward.
Pretty brave on your part, and we really appreciate it, because as the community's shown, all of the outcry and kerfuffle on the 28th is really because we do still love Vaticon. It is still something that brings people to one end of the city where they might never tread again.
Which bus goes to Vaticon?
There's like
UCD?
20 of them or something.
46A, 39A, 145, 66X.
The 46A, the Wanderley wagon. A grand old dam of the Dublin bus routes. Anyways, like I said, I hope we see new faces there. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing a lot of old faces. If you've enjoyed this episode, please spread the word. Spread the word about Vaticon. Spread the word about this podcast. And encourage people to show up. Hopefully it'll be a nice warm April, but I think it can only benefit from a phoenix rising that is this year's Vaticon. So Peter, I'm going to hand over to you to sign out. Tell us where we can find you online, where we can find you on Facebook, where to reach out if you've got a game or you want to trade or you want to bring anything to the table. Over to you.
Great. So once again, Vaticon, 3rd to the 5th of April. €5 for students, €10 for non-students. You can reach us on Facebook. We're trying to get the Twitter account going again. We don't know who owns it.
That old chestnut.
The website will be online in the next week or so. We're working on that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a trader, if you're a GM, if you're staff, you will get free entry to the con, as well as some free RPGs and anything we can. Some t-shirts and obviously a bit of food if there's funding left. I guess to finish, could I do some shout outs?
Absolutely, yeah. Go nuts.
So first of all, I'd like to thank the committee on the UCD GameStock. It was a tough week, I'm going to be honest. They've been absolutely amazing, and as a new auditor, it's great to have such a impressive team behind my back, and I couldn't do this without them, so thank you very much. To all of our alumni who have reached out, both offering financial and to run games and all that sort of stuff. Thank you. Like without this, Vaticon probably wouldn't be running again. And then in particular, I'd like to thank the staff of UCD admin who, after we showed them the posts on Vaticon, decided to give us the entirety of the student centre, along with the UCD cinema, to play video games or bad video game movies, whatever. We're kind of working it out.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
That's tempting. If we're already, but some bad video game movies. Oh, that's
I love a bad video game movie.
We're hoping Super Mario Bros.
Oh yeah, the classic. Classic.
Take me now. Okay, anyone else? He's got a list. He's more organised than we are. How do you feel about running the adventure party?
Well, maybe we were the traders of the booth.
The IGA as well. They've been absolutely phenomenal in the support they've been given. This is my first kind of con, both in a staff sense. I did a little bit of staffing 2 years ago, but nothing really serious. So any of the advice and the trader links that they've offered has been absolutely invaluable.
Diageo are a good company. So no? Who? Oh, sorry, the IGA. The Irish Games Association, of course. My mistake. Yeah, they work behind the scenes to prop up and support and promote an awful lot of great events, Vaticon included now this year, that otherwise I don't think we'd enjoy the benefits of in quite the same way. So absolutely, hats off to them. They're still doing a fantastic job.
And I think it goes to show that one of the biggest elements of the Irish community is that it has such a wealth of experience and knowledge, and when that's properly harnessed, when people are putting it together and putting an effort behind something, we can work minor miracles and turn things around really, really quickly.
Absolutely.
And that is one of the things I'm most proud of when I think of the Irish gaming community is our wealth of knowledge and willingness to stick at it.
Our commitment to drinking every bar dry would also stand out there. No?
Well,
Am I thinking of someone else?
No. That's also one of our major skills. We just we don't need to advertise that one. It's just kind of evidence in the street afterwards.
Okay. Peter, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thanks for having me.
Shane, thank you very much for allowing me to exercise my journalistic instincts. Don't worry.
Definitely professional journalism.
Yeah, you'll get final edit.
Free professional journalism forever.
And we'd like to thank you all for listening. You can find links to some of the things we've mentioned this evening in the show notes. We are online we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. I think we're going to get on YouTube fairly soon.
That's the hope.
You'll find links again in the show notes. But for now, I think I'm going to say this party's over. Okay, Liam, you've got 5 minutes to explain.
5 minute dungeon. It kind of fits, doesn't it?
Right, go.
So, this is a dungeon. You have to get through a certain amount of monsters and stuff in a certain amount of time. There's a deck in the middle of the table, and you go through different adventures. So, first things first, pick an adventure. I'm picking a paladin. Nobody else gets it because I'm the paladin.
Oh, crap.
Right.
What was that one?
So, there you go. Take one of them, pick it. There's got 2 sides.
Okay, I got one.
Alright, I'm going to get this yellow deck.
I got a sorceress.
Stick it on my draw pile.
No, I got a wizard. They're 2-sided, okay.
Yeah, right. Well, there you go. There's the blue deck.
Excellent. Got a blue deck.
Okay, I'm taking a gladiator.
Gladiator, red deck. There you
Kind
go.
of Penny Arcade style artwork.
Cool. So,
Okay.
we have
The hell do we do with
an
this?
app.
there's
And
an app
there are
with this
different
one.
narrators for the app as well. In this case, I'm going to pick the guy from the YouTube channel. You'll know what I'm talking about.
Is it Will Wheaton?
No.
Is it Will Wheaton?
It's movie reviews. What's
There's a lot of movie review channels.
The Angry Video Game Nerd.
Oh, I hate that guy.
Does he do movie reviews?
Very spooky in there.
I don't know his voice.
3, 2,
CinemaSins, I think.
1, go.
Something's happening.
I do not like CinemaSins one bit.
All right, so we basically have an app that's taken away there, right?
Hey, we're timed.
So we start to flip over. So draw yourself a hand. We are 3 players, so we get 4 cards in your hand.
We're about to do a
You have a
game.
draw pile and a discard pile. So those
And
are different.
it's-
Put your deck onto your draw pile.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
and basically what we have to do is match up
Discard
symbols.
pile face.
So here we have the first guy is a mini boss. We need 4 scrolls and 2 jumps. I am no help.
So this is these are doors we're kicking in, yeah?
Yep.
I have a scroll.
Okay, you have a scroll, so we need 3 more scrolls.
What have I got? I got 2 scrolls here.
So throw down your 2 scrolls. Draw back up to 4 cards when you've done that.
Okay.
Okay.
Did we beat him?
No.
No, we still need 1 more scroll, and we need 2 more
We've only
jumps.
got 5 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
we need 2
time's
what?
ticking away here.
I do not have...
2 jumps.
Jump.
Now,
What's
this
a
is
jump
the
look
problem.
like? I've got nothing.
Your red deck is full of mostly swords. Your blue deck is full of mostly scrolls. My yellow deck is full of mostly shields. We don't have a jump guy.
What do we do?
So we're going to be a little bit lacking. This is where the rules are a little ambiguous.
Will I fireball him instead?
Fireball, just what
right.
does Fireball do?
Defeat a monster.
He's not a monster. He doesn't have a monster type.
Oh, crap.
The rules do specify that. The rules aren't clear. Some people say you can just do this. You fluff your hand.
There's only 4
You
minutes.
throw them away.
I love this.
That's no good.
Okay, I got nothing.
Oh,
so.
you play that. What's that? Draw. Yeah, you play that.
Choose 2 players, draw each, 3 each.
We draw 3 each. Great. Cool.
classic
1,
classic
2,
game.
3. There's
We're
1
being
more scroll.
given out to by the guy who knows the rules.
So we just need 2 jumps.
I jump.
I got no jumps.
Okay, we need 1 more jump.
I've no jumps.
No
And
jumps.
I draw again. I jump again.
What's
Hey,
swords
okay,
do?
we defeated this guy. We flick at the next card.
I've got
okay.
like 7 cards, man.
Person. All right, I play a shield and an arrow.
Should I
so
have
we need
7 cards?
we need a jump.
I play a shield.
I think I jump. No.
No, I don't
No,
need to.
we need a jump.
I'm
1 more
gonna
jump.
fireball the
No
next
jumps.
damn monster
I've got no
comes
jumps.
along.
He's not a monster. He's a person. Does anybody have an effect at the bottom of the card that says defeat a person?
Yes.
Yes, they do. Discard 2 cards. Discard into the discard pile. This is just different to just throwing away for effects.
I
So
have 7
that's
cards.
defeated.
Is that
That can be fine. Your draw is 4. Oh, more scrolls and more jumps. Defeat a person. Who's defeat a person?
I don't think these cards are for this game.
Discard those. Oh, discard the cards to kill him.
I defeat a person.
Great, done. Mini boss. All right, there's 2 shields. We need
I got
2 arrows and 2.
I got
things.
arrows and swords for
2
days.
swords.
Oh, you got swords. Okay, there's 2 arrows.
We beat him.
We beat him. Okay.
Dead, Yay.
So I'm just going to pause there and just go, this is basically the game. You're just flicking through and trying to match up your symbols and do that. Different people have different powers.
This is crazy.
I'm having a heart attack.
You're basically.
is worse.
It is frantic.
This is like Dungeoneering,
All right.
you know.
This is worse than that time I got a burrito thrown at me.
Each boss, right, has a whole pile of different things on them, and they say 20 cards.
Okay.
That's the number of dungeon cards you take out, plus 2 of these special mini boss cards for each player.
Okay.
Okay.
And you notice they
know
work
they're coming
harder.
up.
They're not a monster. They're not a person. You can make the game a little bit easier for yourself if you make sure you balance your party. So you've defeated a person. I've defeated a monster, and if you took somebody who has defeated an obstacle,
He does, actually.
then we can each discard 3 cards to defeat one type of monster when we're really stuck.
Gotcha.
So,
Bosses, you can't get around the bosses like that though. That's one problem for
okay,
you.
so you play cards,
Yeah.
and you draw cards.
You shout at each other.
You just
When you
play
run out of
in the
cards, you're out of cards, and the dungeon's beating you.
So your deck is
And
your
if you
life.
run out of time, the dungeon's beating you.
So using our discard tree to defeat things is probably not what we want.
There are effects, though, that bring your discard pile back into play. So, for example, the Paladin has Heal Potion. All players draw 3 cards from the discard pile. There's also another card that lets you take somebody's discard pile and put it on top of their draw deck.
Okay, so it's a party game. Obviously, it's quick, it's fast paced.
It's quick, it's fast-paced.
very quick to explain.
It's very quick, yeah.
Like I've got
absolutely.
half of a handle on
You're
what I was
just matching
doing.
up symbols and matching up colours. That's
I really
it.
like it. Can we
It's
talk
both.
about the god awful box?
The god-awful box is a funny shape. It's kind of like an offset hourglass shape.
Yeah.
I think the reason... So this was kickstarted. I don't know if this was one that came with the Kickstarter or if it was one that was bought in a shop. I think it was bought in a shop or bought online. It was a gift. I don't know. I've had a lot of fun with it. I think the reason why the box is a weird, funny shape like that is that if you see a whole pile of games on a shelf, there's not much that's going to draw the eye and make you go, "What's that game?" So I think that's why they've done it. It is probably an unforgivable sin, but it probably works.
We're heading into some weird territory. The perfectly spherical box is just ahead of us, I feel. You've got lots of different monsters you can encounter.
Yep. There is the Baby Barbarian, the Grim Reaper,
are they double-sided?
Zola the Gorgon. They are not.
Why are they not double sided?
A freaking dragon.
They could fight a dragon.
A
Yeah.
freaking dragon.
And the Dungeon Master, who looks like he looks a little like an evil version of that guy from the D&D cartoon with 2 glowing D20s.
This
hard
Dungeon Master
mode.
is all of us.
Okay. Well,
When you get to the end, you need 40 cards to beat him.
okay. Well, that was 5 minutes
Yep.
on 5 Minute Dungeon, published by
That's a good question.
something kids. Is it
Spin Masters.
Spin Masters?
Just
Okay.
Spin Master.
Fun.
Who's it designed by? Does it say?
I don't know. There's a Kickstarter, and I've gotten in on the next Kickstarter, which is 5 Minute Investigation, I think it's called.
Right.
Ooh, that
I
sounds
think it's
fun.
probably over now, but it's designed for quick little kind of things to go through. I'm quite looking forward to it. So maybe again, if we're back here next year,
I had fun. Sean,
bring it
That's
this one.
fun.
I had fun. I feel like I've learned something.
Yeah,
So, okay, thanks. We'll probably ask you to come back and do one next week.
sure.
Excellent. Bye-bye.
Get out of here.
Get out of here.
Thanks for listening to The Adventuring Party. You can find show notes and links to things we've mentioned at theadventuringparty.net and on our Facebook page. You can leave comments there or on Twitter through @adventuringpty. The hosts can be contacted by email at party@theadventuringparty.net. The Adventuring Party is released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, Share-alike, version 3 license.